welcome to another video. This is episode 42 of the podcast, and you know the drill. Let's get right into the things that I have knit over the past couple of days. And today I would like to start off with this sweater here, the Norma sweater by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So last night when I was preparing for the podcast, I realized that I didn't really have anything in terms of knitwear to talk about, and so I figured, you know what, I have just one sleeve left. Let me try and see what I can do. So I started the right sleeve last night and then I finished it this morning. So I have finished knitting this. It is not completely finished because I still need to weave in all of the ends and then block it. But in terms of actually knitting the piece, it's done, and I'm very, very happy with how it has turned out. I also made some footage, and I'll put it right here, of me wearing the sweater as it is right now. You might notice that the right sleeve is a tiny bit shorter than the left one, and that's simply because I blocked the sweater midway knitting, and so that should resolve itself once I have blocked the entire sweater. So yeah, let me talk a bit more about the sweater itself. So like I said, it's the Norma sweater by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I am knitting this for my Isaya Archives collection project. I've been really enjoying the process. A lot of the tastes of the designers differ quite a bit from mine, so it's been fun trying to make modifications on these pieces. I modified this one a bit as well. Yeah, so I'll be talking about that later on. So is there anything else in terms of general information? No, I think that's it. So let me first tell you about the yarn. So I bought yarn from a Norwegian company called Viking, and I got their yarn called Eco Highland wool. So this is a 100% merino wool yarn. It's 110 meters per 50 grams, so a DK weight. I use for the main color 2-on-2 parelgrijs, 2-4 for gebrande oranje, and 2-6 marinier. Yep. And I really enjoy knitting with this yarn. It's so soft. It's very satisfying. I think this is definitely one of my favorite yarns to date. So the original actually used 2 strands of yarn. I think it was some wool and some silk mohair held together, but yeah, I just used a DK weight yarn. As for the construction, this is a top-down raglan sweater knit in the round. You start at the top here, you do a tubular cast on, do a ton of rib. You also do some short rows at the back for the neck. And yeah, what else do you do? Yeah, you just start increasing for the body and the shoulders at the raglan stitches. And yeah, you knit all the way down until you've reached the point where you have to split for the sleeves. Then you knit the sleeves in the round, yeah, and do some ribbing. You finish off with an Italian bind off, and then you do essentially the same for the body, rib, and Italian bind off. So I made a number of modifications. The smallest size had a bust circumference of about 107 centimeters, which would give me about 24 centimeters of positive ease. And I thought that that would be a bit too much for this sweater, especially considering that it's quite thick. So I decided to modify this a bit, and I took out about 10 centimeters at the bust. I'm not too sure if it ended up being 10 centimeters because I haven't finished blocking everything and measuring everything, but according to my calculations, it should be about 10 centimeters less. So that would result in positive ease of about 14 centimeters. And I think it worked out. I also shortened the armhole depth because I felt that it was a bit too deep. Already now it's quite deep for me, so I'm very happy that I made that adjustment. And I also made the sleeves shorter, and also, what else? The arm circumference shorter, and I think also the body I made shorter. So I made a lot of things shorter. And what else did I do in terms of modifications? Yes, I think the other thing that I did, well, the last thing that I did that I think is a bit noteworthy to mention is that I knit almost everything flat. The top, this section here at the top, I knit in the round, which is why you can see this join here in the middle. And then the rest I just did flat, and I seamed it all up, which is why I have all these ends. Whoa, why I have all these ends here. I did knit the ribbing in the round just because I felt that would be more convenient. Yeah, also the bottom ribbing I did in the round as well. And I'm just very happy with how it has turned out. I mean, I haven't blocked it yet, but I'm very satisfied with the amount of positive ease. I'm very happy with the modifications that I made, and I think that because of them, I will reach more for this sweater than if I hadn't made those. Yeah, so this one will make one last appearance in the next podcast episode, and hopefully I'll be able to edit the vlog on this sweater soon enough. I just have to look at my notes because I do want to be quite clear on the changes that I made, so that if anyone else wants to knit up this sweater and make similar modifications, they can kind of understand how I did it. Oh yeah, also I wanted to mention, so yeah, so in terms of needle sizes, I used 3mm for the ribbing on everything, and then I used 4mm needles for the main color, the orange and the dark blue in the middle. But then for the stranded color work, the gray and the dark blue, I first started off with 4mm needles, and then I started realizing that it was cinching in a bit. So when I split for the sleeves, I switched to 4.5mm needles for the stranded section, but I still kind of felt that it was cinching in, and I kind of ended up taking that L for most of the remainder of the sweater. But then when I was working on the right sleeve yesterday, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna try with 5mm needles, and there's still some cinching, but I think that this actually might block out the sleeves. Well, the left sleeve has already been blocked and there is still that pulling here, but I think it might not show up on the right sleeve. Yeah, I don't really know why I didn't just switch earlier, because I was realizing what was happening, but that's okay. It's another lesson learned. I believe. Yeah. Now I would like to move on to the crochet hat with the gauge from hell. Yes, it is sirdar 2297 model B. So I spoke about this in the last episode. I have been crocheting different types of headwear for the summer, and one pattern that really stood out to me was this particular pattern. The thing is that this is a pattern, an old pattern from sirdar from the 60s, and they've recently scanned a lot of their old patterns and put them online for sale as PDF files. The thing is that they don't really give you a lot of information about the pattern on the purchasing page. There's actually nothing. You only know the name of the discontinued yarn that this pattern was purposed for, and also the number of the pattern. That's about it. And so when I bought it, I looked at the gauge, and the gauge for every single hat said something like 2 patterns are 2 inches on row 20 or row 16. And I was a bit confused about that, because I was thinking, how do you make a swatch for something or for a pattern that appears on the 16th round of a pattern that has 20 rounds? Because to me that kind of sounds like your entire project is your gauge swatch. And so I just kind of winged it the first time, and it came out far too big. And so I thought, maybe I should just go and ask on Reddit. I did, but I didn't get an answer on how to actually crochet a gauge swatch without actually crocheting the entire thing. And so I thought, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna try this and see if this time it works out. And I used some yarn that I bought in Japan, some hand-dyed yarn, and as you can see, it's not really looking like a hat now, is it? It's far too small. I didn't finish it. The gauge swatch for this particular model, model B, was, I believe, at round 12. So I crocheted until round 12 and then realized that this was too small. So I kind of gave up on it. Also, I actually didn't really like how the hat was looking with the colors. I felt that it was a bit too variegated for the piece. So I switched to some other yarn. I used some other yarn that I got from Japan, from Opal KFS. It's sock yarn. This is it right here. Alright, yeah, this is the finished piece, by the way. Ta-da! So I used, yeah, the name of the yarn is Original Tanshoku Uguisu. So it's like original, I don't even know the word for it. It has something to do with like chromatic colors, something like that. But Uguisu is a Japanese bush warbler, a bird. So there's that. The yarn has a yardage of 50 meters per 200. No. It has a yardage of 212 meters per 50 grams, and the composition is 75% wool and then 25% nylon. Yeah, and this time I actually figured it out. I managed to meet gauge and it's done. I am so happy with it. I took a bunch of pictures wearing this, so I'll put them right here. So the construction is pretty straightforward. I would call myself very much so a beginner crochet person. So it consists of just double crochet and chains. So you start at the center with, I believe the pattern tells you to chain a couple of stitches, but I just did a magic loop. So you do a bunch of double crochet and then you start increasing, and then you create these double crochet groups, as you can see here. So you'll have a group where you do 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets, and then you have just your regular double crochets in between that, and you build the groups on top of each other. So they start off pretty small with 2 double crochets on each side of the group, and then it goes all the way up to four double crochets on each side. You have the groups that increase and the double crochet, the number of double crochets in between increase, and then basically the last 2 rounds of the pattern are a bit different. The second to last round you accommodate for the last round, which is just a bunch of shells, and for some reason that makes the hat flare a bit and it creates a bit of a brim. So I think that's everything I have to say on this. I'm very happy with how it looks. I think it looks very cute, and definitely when comparing this one to the original one that I made, the pink one, you can definitely see how much impact the gauge had on the pattern. I also finished the pink one way sooner, so it also doesn't have this very cute section here. The brim isn't as cute as this one, so I'm very happy with it. I think this is a pattern I might do again just because I think it's so cute. Yeah. I do want to say sorry if I'm not very clear when it comes to explaining the construction of all the things that I've been crocheting. I'm still very much so learning the basics. One thing that I'm really struggling with right now is a single crochet circle, or just single crocheting in the round, but I've been looking at a lot of videos today, so hopefully I can resolve that issue, but I'll explain more later on. Next up, I would like to talk about the thing I'm wearing at the moment. I can take it off so I can actually talk about it. Yep, so wait. Just a second. Ta-da! So this is the ponytail crocheted hat. It's a free pattern that I found online, so I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. It's from allcraftsblogs.com, and it seems to be a pattern from the 60s, 70s. I'm not too sure. I'm just going off of how the picture looked. So the pattern recommended a worsted weight wool, but I decided to go for some drops Paris, which is 100% cotton and has a yardage of 75 meters per 50 grams, which is an Aran weight yarn. And the color I went for was cobalt blue with the code 9. The reason why I chose this color was basically because I had an idea for a crochet bag, but the colors didn't really come out as I had expected them to come out, and so I had about 100 grams of this blue yarn, and I don't know, I just stumbled upon this pattern when I was searching and it looked cool. I had the appropriate amount of yarn and it worked out, and I'm very, very happy with how it looks. So let me tell you a bit about the construction. It's also fairly simple, very beginner friendly, I would say. Despite being a vintage pattern, I felt that I could get through it fairly well. So you chain a very long chain and after that you do a single crochet, I believe, in every single loop, and then after that is when you start working on the main pattern of this scarf. So you have two alternating rows. The first row consists of doing three, is it three? Yes, 3 double crochets into a chain space, then chaining 2 and then doing 1 single crochet into the next chain space and then doing 2 chains. And then the second row is a single crochet into a chain space, then 3 chains, and then you repeat all the way to the end. After the first pattern repeat, you actually just decrease on the sides throughout the entire pattern, and the way you do that, well, it's explained in the pattern. I don't think I'm good enough to really explain that, but you do it on the row with the double crochets. So you double crochet in one space and then the next space, and then you decrease. So after you've done that and you've reached the top of the scarf, you go back down and then you just single crochet all around the scarf. You do that twice and then you're done with the main part, and then it's time for the cords. This is done by making quite a long chain and then single crocheting into the chain, and then I just seamed it to the scarf, and that was it. It took me about a day to finish this, and I had a lot of fun. It was very quick, very clear, the instructions I mean, and that just made for a really nice experience, and the outcome was also really good. I will definitely be wearing this a lot this summer. I think it goes well with a lot of clothes that I have. I have a lot of blues and greens in my wardrobe, so I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it. I already know. So yeah, if you are looking for a quick, fun, beginner-friendly crochet project, I'm highly recommending this one. Next up, I would like to talk about another crochet hat that I've been working on, and this one actually has single crochet in the round, which I've been struggling with a lot. I was actually thinking of maybe posting about it on Reddit, asking what I'm doing wrong here, because as you can see, there's a very weird line forming at the beginning of the round. I think I've messed that up. I get so confused when it comes to single crochet. With double crochet in the round, I can very easily see at which stitch I need to make a slip stitch, but for some reason single crochet is very hard for me, and I use this light bulb stitch marker, but I don't know, it's still not really going that well. Now, let me tell you a bit more about the pattern, because it's not really looking like much at the moment. I'll put a picture here of how it's supposed to look like. So I got this pattern off of Warplace. I believe the website is warplace.de. I will leave a link to that in the description box down below. But it is a website, I believe, from Lana Grossa, and it's just a sort of, it has its own kind of social media incorporated into it. It's a very mini Ravelry, I should say, and it's just filled with a ton of knitting and crochet patterns. I believe some other types of handicraft things as well, but I haven't actually looked into that. But what I do know is that they have a really great selection of knitting and crochet patterns. The patterns, however, are all solely in German, and you can only download one pattern a week, but I have found a way around that. Basically, what you have to do is you have to go to all the patterns that you're interested in, and then you have to put them on your, how would I say this, wish list. And once you've done that, you go to your wish list page, and then you just instantly download all of them. And so you can get 20 patterns in one go, but then you still have to wait another week before you can do another batch download. So there's my tip on how to get patterns on that website. This pattern is called Hoed, and it's from their crochet book number 6. As for the construction, it's pretty straightforward. It's just single crochet increases. Once you've crocheted, I believe, 22 rounds, that's when you stop increasing and you just crochet evenly. And then you quite early on start working on this pattern. I thought it was pretty cute. The pattern tells you to carry over the yarn, and that's exactly what I've done. But I don't know, it's looking kind of flimsy at the moment. The gauge, you can actually only check the gauge at round 20 or 22. You're supposed to have 22 rows or rounds for 10 centimeters, and I think I got gauge, but it does look quite large on me, and I'm not very happy with this weird line here, so I do think I'm going to start over. I'm just going to keep this for now as a reference, and then I'm going to switch the colors around as well. So the light color is going to be the main color and the dark one is going to be the contrast color. I forgot to mention the yarn that I'm using. The pattern itself obviously recommends one of Lana Grossa's yarns. It's called Cotone, and that is a DK weight 100% cotton yarn. I'm using Drops Belle. This is also a DK weight yarn, 120 meters per 50 grams, but it is a blend of cotton, 53%, viscose, 33%, and then linen, 14%. This is the color Sand, number 24, and this is the color Forest Brown, number 25. So it's kind of looking rough at the moment, but I feel like if I were to change the hook size, take a smaller hook size, it will get some more structure and it will look a bit nicer. I think it would fit my head better as well. So we're just going to see how that works out. The next thing I would like to talk about is the Venus top by Lizard and Hook. This is actually a pattern that I had bought last year and I tried making it at the time, but it didn't really work out. That was mostly on me because I made a very poor yarn choice. I chose some merino wool, I believe, to crochet this piece, and I was just not feeling it. So a couple of months ago I just binned it and figured that I would give this pattern another go this summer, and now, maybe because I have a bit more experience with crochet and just knitting as well, just cloth making, I am realizing some issues that I have with the pattern. I think first and foremost is the sizing. For me, it was incredibly unclear. I think it goes from XS or XXS to 2XL. However, it doesn't specify what these sizes mean. An XS doesn't mean anything unless there are some actual metrics attached to it, if that makes any sense. And there is a gauge given, but it's only the gauge for the pentagon on the third row of the round. And so there's just a lot of, I guess, figuring things out yourself and grading things in order to get something that will actually fit you well. There's also no yardage specification given, just a range of weight that you need, amount of yarn that you need, but also the weight of the yarn is not specified. So it doesn't say whether or not you need a DK weight or a fingering weight. It only tells you the hook size recommendation that should be on the package, which can vary quite a lot, excepted that if I really want to make this work, I'm gonna have to put some extra work into it and make a couple of gauge swatches and see what might fit for myself. Having said that, the yarn that I'm using for this project is Drops Cotton Merino, which is a DK weight yarn, 50% cotton and 15% merino wool, 110 meters per 50 grams. These are the colors. We have 17 vanilla, 7 weinrot, and 4 lila. Okay, so let me show you what I've made so far. So I tried this, I believe, with a 3.5 millimeter hook, and it was a bit too small. And then I did this, and I asked my boyfriend how he felt about the color combination at this point, and he said that it reminded him of tompoes, which is a Dutch Belgian sort of cakeish thing. And I was a bit hesitant when it came to this this color combination before I asked him whether that was the reason that I even asked him. And so him saying that and not saying that he really liked it, like skirting around the question and saying what it looks like, I felt, maybe I need a second, a third, a fourth opinion. So I went on Reddit and I just posed the question, is this ugly? And I got a number of comments. Most of them said that it looked like cake, like raspberry tart or another type of tart. A jam tart, yes, I believe. They said that. I think there were also 2 who gave different color selections. Really, the problem is the yellow that looks kind of beigey in some instances. And yeah, so at one point somebody commented and said something like, I'm sorry to say this, but it looks to me like bloodied plasters or band-aids. And I literally screamed when I saw that comment, and then I knew, yes, I need to scrap this entire thing and just pick another yarn, pick different colors, and see if I can salvage this project. But the next day, when I had already decided to change the color, I got this comment right here, and that made me very happy that I didn't just say, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna power through and see how it turns out, because that is not the vibe I'm trying to evoke with this top. So I think I'm just going to use some Drops Belle that I have in my stash and crochet this with some more neutral colors. Now I quickly want to mention a sewing project that I've been working on. So I have these bags that I got from the grocery store, and I use these for my projects just to separate them, and then I have a big bag that I put everything in. I don't think that this is going to offer sufficient protection for my pieces once I go outside to knit, and I will be doing that a lot once I go and visit some family. So I really want to make a project bag. I found this very nice pattern on Koka, which is a company that makes really nice fabrics. Actually, this one that I'm using right now is from one of them. I bought this from a Dutch store. Apparently a lot of the, how would I say this, the fabric stores here in the Netherlands that are leaning more to sustainability often carry this yarn, this type of the fabric from the company. But yeah, so I got this gifted to me from my sister a couple of months ago at this point, I think. And yeah, that was the purpose of getting this. And so now I want to make the bag. I'll put the picture of it right here. So the construction is just a cylindrical bag that has these metal clasps that you use to close the bag with, and then you have these tiny handles, and then on the side you have these tiny open pockets where you can put stuff in there. So I thought that would be really cool. The only problem is that I want something that offers a bit more security when it comes to the stuff that's actually inside. So I was thinking of making a sort of sewing hybrid project where I make this or knit this woolen cover that goes at the top that I can use and pull on like this, basically. So I've been working that out in my mind. I do have some yarn in my stash that I think would be appropriate for that project. As for where I am at right now in terms of sewing, I measured all the things. So the pattern is not something that you print out and then you cut it out. They give you the measurements, and so you have to draw up everything yourself. So that's what I've done. I've cut out the fabric, and now I'm kind of scared to sew because I don't know if it's going to come out well, and so I want to make a mock-up first. So I think I'm just going to pin the fabric pieces to some bed sheets that I got from the Goodwill store, secondhand store, and so I'll sew that up, see if that works, and if that works, I'll do it with this fabric. So there's that. I didn't really prepare to say anything about it, but I, for some reason, brought the leftover fabric with me here, so I figured I'd just mention it. But yes, that is everything I have for today. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I hope to see you soon in another video. Bye bye!